Hello everybody, welcome back to Throttle Grotto. This week we're going to be working on getting new seats installed in the Datsun Roadster, which is one of the last things I need to do before I can actually take it for a drive. Got these seats now for the Datsun. I sold the stock seats that came in it because I wanted something with a little more side support, a little more sporty, but something yet that kind of fit the inside of the car. I thought I was going to use the Recaros that I had here, and the Recaro LSs are just a bit too wide to fit in the car. They looked great, they're super comfortable, but I couldn't get them to fit. So hunting around, looking on eBay, looking on a bunch of other sites, I came across these. These are from retroseats.com, and as you can tell, they are super light. They're super light seats. They're probably only 15 pounds a piece, and are a fiberglass seat. They do have a headrest that attaches to the back of the seat here, but they didn't include instructions on how to attach the headrest. So before I demolish a brand new seat, I'm going to wait for those instructions to come in. Part of getting them in the car is actually mounting sliders. Now, I could use the Datsun Roadster sliders if I could find both sets that I have. Went through all my boxes of parts and I found the one pair of sliders I have. And then I also have a set of Miata sliders. So I decided I'm going to use the Miata sliders. And it turns out it's way easier to use the Miata sliders in place of the Datsun ones than I originally anticipated. So let's get these disassembled. I want to pull these Miata sliders off a pair of seats that I have, and I'll show you guys what needs to be modified to make them work in the Datsun. All right, we are at the workbench now, and I have the original Datsun Roadster sliders here. And then I have the Miata sliders here, upside down. So these are both facing the floor pan. You can see here the nuts that go through the floor pan. And then these are the tabs that hold the Miata sliders to the floor in the NA Miata. So the big thing to look at here is the distance between these studs is about 12.5 inches, or for you Euro types, we're looking at, my eyes are too bad to read that at this point, about 31.5 centimeters. So we haven't modified this at all. I've got the last hole from the rear one and the hole from where the locating pin was. I'm going to drop a bolt in each one of these. And look at that. The rear mode holes in the Datsun line up perfectly with the Miata sliders. So the only thing I have left to do here is just make a little spacer to set the slider level. And then I'm just going to use like a piece of aluminum and cut a little square, drill a hole in it so that it fits underneath the slider. And then I can make brackets to mount the seats to, and it'll be done. Alright, so after a whole bunch of work, this is what I ended up with. Basically, a pair of Miata sliders with some 3/16 bar stock and a few nuts welded into place to make it a little bit easier to get to some of these underneath the car when I'm working here by myself. So I bolted and welded this together. I basically bolted it to hold everything in place, and I figured, well, it's probably good to have some redundancy in place because, well, I've not made seat bases before, so I'm going to leave the bolts in there. They don't interfere with the seats at all. So this is what I have. I have a pair of these. I'm going to bolt these up to the seats and throw them both in. And all right, everybody, so I have one seat mounted in the car. You can see I have the factory roll bar just set in here. but as far back as I can go, it's pretty close to the roll bar, but it doesn't hit it. I did manage to get the headrests on. I'll show you guys. All right, everybody, the seats are in the car finally. I've had them sitting in a box behind the car for probably a month now, so it was time. I still need to pull the seats out and reinforce the underside a little bit. I need to get some big fat body washers to put underneath, and I'll show you why here in a minute. All right, so first of all, I will show you the consequences of my actions here. So underneath here we have, there's our holes that that is the rearward hole. The other two I covered up with some aluminum tape to keep water from getting into the car. So these two are in decent spots. We go a little bit deeper into the center. That one is a fine spot to get to. The other one is just above the frame rail. You can kind of see it poking out there between the exhaust, or between the floor pan and the frame rail. That one was a little bit tougher to get to, so if you decide to use that rearward hole on this side, be aware that that is what you're going to have to fight there, is getting a bolt and nut above there. And if you move the passenger side back, you will probably run into the e-brake. So if you move it back the same as the front, give yourself a little bit of room to work with. All right, so without further ado, here is what we have finally for the seat installation on the Datsun Roadster. So as you can see, these actually fit the car pretty well. There's room on either side of the seat. They are a fairly narrow seat. I don't remember what the measurement is, but I have a tape measure here. Overall width of these seats is just about 17 inches or 43.5 centimeters. So they do fit in the car very well. These were about $550 shipped, and then I had to get sliders. Fortunately, I already had the Miata ones. All right, as I've said before, I'm not a svelte man. I'm kind of girthy, but the steering wheel should be just about where it needs to be. And I've got the slider. There we go. So there we go. The steering wheel will probably end up, I think it ends up being right about here in the car. So fairly good driving position. You can reach all the gears. It's a little more cramped than the Honda Beat, but for what it is, I fit in the seats. It would be nicer if I could tilt them back a little bit, but then I'm going to run into issues with the roll bar. So for an occasional fun driver and something that fits the car period-wise, these are pretty good seats. I might end up putting like a pillow behind my back just to give me a little more lumbar support. But my head does hit the headrest. So all in all, it's a win. These seats are really hard to find cars for, or these cars are really hard to find seats for. So if you're wondering about the carpet, it's actually a trunk carpeting from like a 2008 Chevrolet Malibu that I cut in half and laid in here. My next video, I've got 3 more pieces of trunk carpeting that I got from Pick Apart for, I think, a total of $20 that I'm going to lay in here and carpet the inside of the car. Again, not fancy, but just having these pieces of carpet in here makes a huge difference in how it looks. So catch the next video on making carpet fit in this car. So that's all for this time. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, get out there and work on something.